managed to defeat Fabi by a shocking margin. And that just shows you that even if Fabiano defeats Prague, where he might be a slight underdog in that match, he then has to go up against Magnus. And Magnus could have a pretty smooth ride, Aman, into London.
Yep, absolutely. It's not even just that these matches are guaranteed. Round one, you'll usually see some really big upsets, but there are those matches right in the middle, which are super, super close. Let's get right into things here because we are underway. Magnus with the white pieces. He's rocking the Team Liquid gear, and the match is underway.
Yes, it is. I feel like the camera angle is giving more credit to Dave Cave being on the screen. Like if we move Magnus anymore on the screen, the words would disappear. We have a Neo-Catalan is what this stuff is called, and this move pawn to d4 appears. Jose had to face this a bunch in a match that I was present for in Madrid, Spain, and that was against Vladimir Kramnik. And in that match, he was putting his bishop here and putting his knight here. This is very different, Aman. I feel like neither one of us plays these systems a whole bunch, but we are vaguely familiar with the ideas and intentions of both parties.
Yep, vaguely is a good word here. I find myself always tempted to sneak by the d-pawn in some way with maybe e4 and then try to play d3 and just commit everything on the king side and fully go for it. So I wonder if we'll see that here. And Magnus almost looked a little like disgusted with the position or maybe his decision there, but he has gone for this idea.
It's always a good sign for you or a bad sign for Magnus if he's following the lines of the commentators.
Exactly right.
Exactly. A couple of moves ago, White had the decision. He could have it's a completely deadlock center now. He did have a decision where he could have taken, and maybe we will see that a little bit later. This is typical Magnus stuff. He's not interested in some sort of cutting-edge opening advantage. He's literally just getting a game. Total gridlock. White will play to the space advantage, and Black needs to play over here, Aman, right? Otherwise, what are you doing in this position at all?
Yeah, completely agree. You really start to play on the queen side, but I was going to say this h4 move, super important, because you want to stop that bishop g5. So we're going to see the pieces reposition. Knight to f3 has the idea of maybe queen e1, g4, g5, maybe just g4 directly and saying, go ahead and take on h4, see if I care.
I'm very perplexed why the computer has decided this position is better for White, because it looks like both sides are just following their plans. That looks like the ugliest move of all time, but I think the king might even go for a run, running out of the castle. I mean, this looks terrible. This looks like this is going to be one-way traffic in game one, Aman. There you go, g4, g5.
And it's one of those things where you're like, how come in my games, when I attack like a lunatic, the engine doesn't like my position? Then you watch Magnus do it, and it's like, is it really that easy? Like, he just closed everything, pushed a bunch of pawns on the king side. Engine is saying, yeah, great, you have a massive advantage, congrats.
A lot of people would be worried about the open space here, but I don't think Black even has enough time. Magnus taking, because he had no alternative. This bishop was going to come over to h5 and block the light squares. White couldn't really advance. He didn't have enough time. Now a very difficult decision for Black. Do you play the extremely obvious bishop takes? Do you play the completely deranged pawn takes or rook takes? And obviously all have merit, but bishop takes appears on the board. And yes, this is exactly right. Knight is coming to e6. But Jospam is defending quite well, I have to say.
Yeah, the thing about these positions is it's not that Magnus is fully committed to this attack. He doesn't need it to work in order to have a functional position. He can also pivot and just play bishop d2, rook b1, and play on the queen side as well. So he's kind of right in the middle of being, full commit. But I like bishop f3 because he's reminding us bishop h5.
But now whoa, the king took. Wow. And I guess the king is going to go right here. That is... Or maybe
is that a confident sip there? We saw Magnus a little bit stunned by that. The engine loving king takes f7, and then a little sip of the drink there. I have to say, king f7 is a really nice one.
What an idea from Jose. By the way, king d6. Let's finish the walk and just defend everything. Oh my goodness, there it is. What a first game in this match.
Amazing. Bishop d2 is screaming here because you want to cover a5, b4, but you also do allow rook down to b2 and, full invasion on the b file.
And let's not forget, there is a hanging pawn here. Just
True.
at all times. And
Yep.
then you can bring the bishop back and bring it in. And I actually don't know. I do feel like white is playing on the Magnus effect for sure. If white was somebody else, if the colors were flipped, you'd be like, oh, this is super bold. But Magnus still thinks he can probably pull this off, but I don't know what his next set of moves is.
Yeah, Josm's king walk to d6 is completely correct. And I actually like your suggestion. As soon as you reminded me that there was stuff hanging on the king side, it's like, wait a minute, bishop takes h4, bishop g5. If you don't trade with me, I'm going to e3, and then the queen's coming in. That looks virtually unstoppable.
Correct. And the bishop on h5 is not a particularly impressive piece. Okay, could we get a draw here in game one with a repetition?
I'm betting that he sees bishop h4 now, and he wants to repeat so that he can change his move.
Well, I got good news, Amon. Ain't nobody defending this pawn. So
perfect.
I don't know what you can do. It almost feels like you have to put the bishop there, trade it for the knight. What do you do with the queen? And why is white not taking on a6?
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, he's realizing the importance of the h pawn and the king side, but I think you just go for it. Yep. Take that thing. Magnus is hating his position here.
This is definitely some degree of an alarm. Oh my goodness. This might be the weirdest game I have ever seen Magnus play. Like, what is happening here? I mean, it's just total separation of the pieces. Where is the harmony?
Yeah, I like how Jocelyn plays king f7, e7, d6, and we're saying, Magnus is playing a really weird game here.
Yeah, this could go down as the game of the year, right? We just pending a result. But by the way, if black does from this position nothing, literally nothing, what does white do?
That's true. That's very valid. I do think that there's progress to be made for Jospim as well on the queen side, so you can build it up slowly.
Yeah, queen a5. Wow, just sending it to an endgame. And I guess Magnus looking for something like this. Yeah, Magnus is just going into, oh my goodness, this is cocoon mode.
Yeah, it's exactly what he's doing here. He's trying to say that with the bishops, there's no entry points. I'm doubtful. Like, I don't believe that. And Magnus himself doesn't believe in fortresses. So let's see if he can actually find one that looks anything like one here.
Right. Rook is going to g3. You obviously can't rush with this move. You could use this pawn potentially. That could be an idea. But you're very afraid. You're definitely afraid when you're playing Magnus, because if you commit this pawn here, you lose control of this square. You're seeing all sorts of ghosts. But now he's going to slowly kick this knight out, Amon, and he might very well find a way to hold it.
Yep. Every pawn move, though, weakens something. You play a3, suddenly the knight goes to c6, a5, b3. So you're just inching forward here. I think that Jospim so far has continued pretty much exactly the way I would want, or that I would expect.
There was a universe in which the king could have maybe gone that way. That would have just made the game even better. But yes, the infiltration rook b1 is absolutely fatal. So you probably have to go here. And now we could be staring at a draw.
Yeah, and it's a tough position to continue. Interesting. Bishop b3. This is where you start to get scared. You're playing Magnus. You're like, wait a minute. Is he playing for a win? What's happening?
Right, because there's no threat. Knight a5, you go here, and it's going to take your knight 2 extra moves to reposition. Magnus has said in interviews before, when he faces people he doesn't feel are playing for a win necessarily, he will kind of toy with them a little bit like this. But even if he's going to do all of this shuffling and mind games, he still can't actually do anything, right?
Yeah.
Surely not.
No, that's true. That's true. I wonder if king d1, is he going to slowly inch towards the other side of the board? Bishop b3, bishop a4. It's all possible here.
Yeah, bishop a4. Okay, now Jose's going to do the exact same thing. And at some point with black, you're like, I just want to get on the board. I can't lose a game like this. Okay, now there is no knight a5, Amon. Now what?
This is what I mean. Yeah, you start to really doubt yourself. Like all of a sudden, okay, maybe the king comes to c2, the rook slides over. You start looking at rook a g1, rook takes g7 sacks.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Rook is coming to g6 in some lines, and It's crazy that this can just hold together the queen side. It's just so amazing he can just shut it down in 35 seconds for black.
Yeah, don't see an easy path forward here. And when the time starts to tick, you become more okay with the draw. That's when Magnus honestly starts feeling like, okay, if you're that okay with a draw, I might start playing for more.
Maybe you have this A pawn sacrifice, and that's your ticket into the white position. Because if black can land a rook on b2 without it getting caged, he should be happy. This is given a question mark. That's just brutal game review stuff. I don't get that. But
yeah, I think it's speaking to the mentality, though. He's now doubling the rooks, not offensively, but defensively on the g7 pawn. So it just kind of shows where his head is at.
Maybe Magnus will try to get the king to a3 somehow, which is just, again, toying with the opponent's mind a bit. This is Magnus going for it, Aman.
Yeah, he definitely wants to play here.
Whoa!
95, he might have... Yeah, he just missed. And look at that. It's another sip. Another sip from the glass. He knows he's made a good move.
Magnus raised the eyebrows a bit, now has to react to this Trojan horse in the center of the board. The idea is the bishop is counterattacked because of his last pawn move, trying to play on the time trouble there. Aman, does he take the knight or does he let it in?
It's so tough. I feel like if you let the knight in, you run a big risk. But if you take, what move do you have next?
Oh my goodness, this is all in. This is a poker bluff. He's giving this pawn to take the file, and he's just trying to trick Jospin in a time scramble. But Jospin got e4 coming in.
Yep. And if rook g4, maybe h5.
Okay, or the pawn, which now taking it is a bad move.
But that's the thing. You allow the rook. He knew this from last turn. I wanted to see h5 there.
And now Magnus threatening bishop h6, and apparently white is back to equal because the bishop is in, and rook b7 is coming.
Oh my goodness. It's all becoming a potential throw here. The e-pawn drops. He can lose this. e5.
Oh yeah, for sure. e5 is coming in d6. This is totally losing territory for black. And there it is.
What do you do here? Because bishop d2, there's rook a2 still.
Yeah, maybe you just go for it. Okay, he's just going to win the pawn. Rook d1 or rook b1.
Okay, but e5. Now the rook goes back to g1.
And now rook g7 and rook back.
No, he's losing his mind. He's down to just a second. But so is Magnus. Oh, no, this is not enough. He knows it. How does Magnus Carlsen do it?
The pawn's promoting. José there was a fork on f4, but he wins. Oh, my goodness. What a game. Aman, if this is going to be the match, it's going to